Everyone knows that the supplement supply chain is extremely messed up right now, but crawling into a fetal position, crying yourself to sleep nightly is not going to help your brand out. So, what are five strategic ways to help combat these supply chain challenges? If you've consumed the last kind of comprehensive supplement supply chain content that I posted last month, you know that I painted a pretty grim picture for at least the first half of 2022 with contagion effects really lasting into 2023. Since I know how valuable your time is, I'm not going to recap a lot of what was in that particular video. So if you haven't consumed that content yet, I'll make it easy for you guys. I'll pop up the link here. I'll also leave that link in this content's description. This current content piece is going to focus on detailing a handful of short term fixes and long term planning solutions that will help any supplement brand combat these supply chain challenges. I guess I should take a step back and explain what I'm talking about when I am mentioning supply chain challenges in the CPG industry. Like, what are we actually trying to solve for? At the core, it's about keeping inventory on shelves. That could be physical shelves or digital shelves. Yes, the skyrocketing inflationary costs are extremely important for business continuity purposes, but higher costs can be managed with different strategic levers. In the CPG industry, out of stocks are the cardinal sin. And the current in stock percentage across all CPG categories, according to IRI data, is around 90% right now. And that's on the high end of the out of stock percentages that usually range between 7 to 10% across the CPG industry. Now, different CPG category of products, even ones we're talking about active nutrition like sports and energy drinks, they're hovering at around 18% out of stock. And these extended out of stock periods could really cause a ton of business continuity risks, especially right now when consumers aren't hesitating to shop elsewhere when your product is out of stock. About 60% of consumers in the last 3 months have faced some out of stock situation. Of those people that have faced those situations, only 13% have actually stayed and waited for those products that they love to be replenished. Consumers know that there's a ton of substitutes in the market for the supplements that you offer. And because of that, brand loyalty is at an all-time low. So all that being said, what are five short-term fixes and or long-term planning solutions that can help your supplement brand combat these supply chain challenges? Now, while going through these, you might be thinking, well, these aren't operationally or supply chain focused. But you have to think about your business holistically. And as you do think about your business holistically, it'll open up a ton of opportunities for you to easily be able to better manage these supply chain situations. So I'm going to start first with financial buffering. Money makes the world go round, and having adequate capitalization is always extremely important for CPG brands. But it can really help lessen the effects of these supply chain challenges right now. The COVID-19 effect showed that financial buffering made companies more resilient and stronger and more competitive while we've been emerging from the pandemic. And less prepared companies have faced existential threats. So it's really important for your business to have flexible access to capital. Maximizing your liquidity is oftentimes the difference between meeting demand and having out of stock situations. With sharp ebbs and flows that are expected in the coming months, it's extremely important to think about financial buffering right now. And financial buffering can really be broken up into four categories. The first one being working capital. And elements within working capital are accounts receivable, and kind of how you can affect accounts receivable are through optimizing your invoicing. Your overdues are managed and you have cash collection strategies, and limiting or lowering your terms temporarily. Another element is accounts payable, and kind of how to maybe engineer that would be to extend terms with some of your suppliers and work to create strategic partnerships, long-term strategic partnerships with an added element of transparency on your side to balance that out. And then finally, inventory. And we're talking about SKU rationalization, prioritization, maybe demand planning, optimization. I'll talk all about that later in this content. Another category is capital expenditures. This can both be helped through capital allocations and capital efficiencies. Another category is operating expenditures. So this could be on the human capital side, but also on the non kind of employee side. So more like general and sales administrative type costs. So making sure you have a cost optimization plan, cutting as many costs as possible during this time will be extremely important. Being lean right now is a good thing. And then finally, balance sheet, which could come with just like restructuring of some things in the balance sheet, but also looking for external capital. And this is something that needs to be done and built from a cultural standpoint, needs to be from the employees up to the CEO. This needs to be something that everybody champions. Good cash management, good financial buffering is something that isn't just a C-suite initiative, because by strengthening your capitalization, it provides flexibility to seize timely opportunities that will make your company more competitive long term. Secondly, you want to look at operational buffering. Most operational practices are focused around operational efficiencies, as the blend of those with maximizing efficiency throughout the supply chain is not the easiest execution task. Across most supplement companies, maximizing efficiency usually means that a brand totally outsources its sole contract manufacturer, this kind of business segment, through a turnkey relationship. And that might have seemed adequate during the Goldilocks era that we have just kind of been through over the last decade. But right now, supply chain vulnerabilities should be prompting supplement brands to take a little bit more control, or at least becoming a more active participant within this element of the business. I mean, at least have an understanding of your supply chain steps from A to Z, so you know where there's possible savings, efficiencies, and be able to assess risks and opportunities. Just like when we were talking about financial buffering, this is really about building in flexibility and resiliency into this part of your business. Operational buffering is really a must right now. So thinking about increasing your contract manufacturing network, so that could be just in the total number, maybe that is diversification of the geographies, maybe it's diversification of the capabilities. Also need to think about increasing the supplier network, so inputs, flavors, components, really by hedging your bets with securing agreements across multiple suppliers in respect to procurement, and then also thinking about increasing your distribution network. So both numbers and geographically, and you're kind of try to hedge for some of the labor market risks if they're not able to kind of uphold your higher volume, and the rising parcel cost, shipping costs. So if you have products that are strategically placed across the country where there's the biggest kind of portion of your sales, especially e-commerce, it'll cut down on your overall shipping costs. So also make sure you have adequate inventory buffering by purchasing more than you immediately need for your most important products. And also consider time buffering, so ordering things a little bit ahead of time that you normally would, or what the normal expected lead time is, because those things have been extended out in sometimes indefinite ways. But to kind of dive a little bit deeper into inventory optimization, I want to kind of cover a few different concepts. The first is around Sku Prioritization. For some reason in the supplement industry, the entrepreneurs think the only way to build or grow their business is through a platform strategy, so expanding out their product line to become a basket brand. And this really increases your risk overall in this current supply chain situation, as you have a lot more needs for procurement. If you only have 90 or maybe 95% of what you need for those products, that product cannot be made at this time. So instead, this is really a time to focus, really time for you to protect your house. Focus on those 20% of SKUs that make up 80% of your sales. The products that every consumer will know you for and expect, and really will hold up their orders if you don't have them, or maybe even switch companies intermittently when you don't have those products in stock. So these are the ones that you want to keep in stock by any means necessary. So for your most important products, you should have a game plan to think about, if everything goes to shit, like what would you do? And thinking about all the different kind of combinations, playing those kind of game theory out there to say, if this ingredient's out of stock, do I have a secondary ingredient? If this or that component is out of stock, do I have an option to get around that? Also going a step further and actually putting those labels together so when you do have to make those changes on the fly and you know that you're not going to have something in stock anytime soon, you're going to have to make that change. These things will slow you up if you don't have labels made and you don't have, your creative staff or your creative contract worker having to wait in line and different things like that. This can all slow you up, which would be extremely troublesome when you're talking about your most important products. And by streamlining your focus, prioritizing these most important products, you can better ensure that things aren't going to slip through the cracks. You're going to be really laser focused on exactly what you need to get done to make sure that those products are always in stock. Now, on the flip side, we're looking at SKU rationalization on the products that maybe are the 80% of products that make up 20% of your sales. It's time to do an audit. It's time for you to not necessarily think you have to be a platform brand. You don't need to have emotional or kind of personal connections to products. It's extremely important to streamline things right now. And looking at the deletion process, maybe permanently, maybe that is just through a temporary time, but you're really wanting to focus on in strengthening the core of your company. So that audit process really needs to maybe focus on not only just the volume of product that you're selling on these different SKUs, but also looking at the profitability, because going back to financial buffering, making sure that you're optimizing for that right now is going to help you lessen the effects on the supply chain issues right now. And kind of the final concept to think about is just demand planning efficiency. Simply put, forecasting should be a priority right now because you want to streamline your inventory counts and reduce excess overhead costs. The shortages of a lot of the components and materials, material scarcity that's going on with some of these products, plus the elevated demand, is causing a ton of issues to the gold standard just-in-time supply chain model. And it really needs to morph into just in case, where you're actually adding more inventory than you need, which also increases the margin of error. So this really kind of doubles down on the importance of demand planning and efficiencies, optimization right now, because if you are going to be ordering more product than you normally do and you have bad demand planning and you are ordering way too much product, this could be the difference between you going out of business and not. So you need to make sure you are really kind of focusing on ordering the right amount, but ordering more than you should with those most important products because you want to stay in stock. It's a really kind of scary balancing act that you need to embrace right now. The fourth way to combat the supply chain challenges is around communication and promotional activity optimization. My hope is that one of the silver linings around the COVID-19 effect is that more supplement brands really kind of dove into direct to consumer. They realized that it is a must have and not just a nice to have. Direct to consumer is more than just a sales channel. It is a relationship with customers. And this is extremely important right now with all the different things that are happening around the supply chain. Communication should be at an all-time high. You should be communicating early and often if you're struggling with inventory, you're struggling with any kind of supply chain type situations. This is a time when you need to lean into those customer relationships, make sure that the customer knows maybe when products are going to be in stock again, maybe what are possible substitutions. There should be a two-way communication that's easily able for consumers to possibly stay with your brand if you are struggling with supply chain or inventory issues right now. To minimize the risk of increased demand kind of throwing off your already struggling supply, you need to consider to maybe minimize your sales and promotional activity. Now, this could definitely hurt your top line sales, your revenue as a whole, but when you think about this, the customers that are maybe most loyal to your brand, them having the ability to buy products, even if it's at full price, they're going to be happy. They're going to be continuing with your brand. Those are going to be the customers that have the highest lifetime value. And the other customers, the ones that are just kind of going out and sales hunting, those maybe will drop off quickly. You spent a lot on customer acquisition, you really not made a profitability. So you have to think about maybe short term losing a little bit of that top line revenue for long term profitability optimization. Now, on the flip side of this discussion, if you are a supplement brand that is extremely confident in your inventory management right now and you have optimized for increased demand, even in some of those best case scenarios where you have the demand really kind of spiking, you feel confident that you're going to be able to meet that. This is your time to be aggressive. This is your time to make sure you're getting as many customers acquired as you can. So put that foot on the gas of promotions. Make sure you're communicating at an effective level to these new customers so then you can retain them long term and really gain market share that will pay dividends to you throughout the next few years. And then the final way to kind of combat the supply chain challenges right now is to diversify away from physical products and into digital products. You know what is not caught up in the ports globally right now? Digital products. But a CPG brand only sells physical products now, right? Maybe historically, but that's not necessarily the case today. In today's marketplace, CPG brands have the opportunity to sell digital products. Digital products can provide you a beautiful combination of content, commerce, and community. Digital products could be just a simple, maybe free or paid ebook or other type items that really just kind of keep the conversation going with you and that customer while your physical product supply chain is pinched. They can also be maybe service level value adds to your business that increase the communication value between you and the customer. And then finally, NFTs or non fungible tokens can be a way for your brand to rethink how it can provide value to consumers outside of just the analog product offerings. But I just want to end on some final thoughts. The COVID-19 effect has not only amplified the need for greater supply chain optimization, but also the need for faster decision making too. Supplement brands are making faster decisions off of less information available to them, which obviously is going to lead to a lot more mistakes. It's definitely a plan for the worst type business era. Even if things are going extremely well and you haven't been caught up into all of this just yet, don't be caught sleeping or flat footed. While the strategic suggestions that I presented are not going to take away all of the pain and risk that's going on right now, it does provide a great level of buffer against it. If you enjoyed this YouTube video, hit that like button. If you want to support me even further, I have a goal of hitting 2,000 subscribers very soon. You can be a part of that goal. All it takes is you to do a quick reaction by hitting that subscribe button right now. 4/5 of you, 80% or so, that are watching this YouTube video right now are not subscribed to my channel. It makes me sad, and I want to change that. So please kind of help me out in that area. But want to thank you for watching this particular video, and I'll see you on the next one.